All right, welcome back into another Wednesday podcast. My guy JaVon back again. 2 weeks of NFL football officially in the books. We got some 2-0 teams that I didn't think could be 2-0. We got some 0-2 teams that I didn't think could be 0-2. Do you know, and this isn't anything to do with the video, but podcasting is podcasting. Do you know the top two passing leaders in the NFL right now? I just wanted to know if you knew the top two leaders off the top of your head.
I think Daniel Jones and Russell Wilson, maybe?
Yep.
I don't know. Russell Wilson.
No, Russ is one. Daniel Jones is two.
Yeah, I know
Wanted to
Russell
know.
Wilson had like a rough week one with Malik Neighbors, but last game he was he
Yeah.
was dealing.
That Cowboys-Giants game had 41 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
So
that shit
that
was
was
crazy.
a fun game. But these Wednesday episodes, videos that me and JaVon are going to put out, we decided we wanted to have a theme to it, something that you guys could kind of come back and expect week to week. And we're each going to come with 3 lessons we learned. The video is going to be titled 6 Things We Learned from the NFL in week 2, and then next week will be week 3, and so on. You guys get the point. They could be league broad, they could be player specific, team specific. We have no boundaries here. So these topics are going to be abstract, they're going to be interesting, and I think they're going to be a little bit different than just your kind of everyday NFL basic football talk, which I thought was the goal here if we're going to have this kind of conversation. Normally I let you go first. I'm taking this one. There is one specific thing that I was dying to talk about. It's kind of a drum I've been beating since 2 years ago, and it is running games are more important in the NFL now than ever. That is the number one thing that has been reaffirmed to me through 2 weeks. You look up and down virtually every NFL team. If they have a run game, they're good. If they don't have one, you are worried about them offensively. The only team that it doesn't apply to at this point in time is the Chargers, and I really think Justin Herbert's mobility has really kind of covered that up right now because their offensive line has been pretty bad in terms of run blocking. But the Eagles, man, they're the first 2-0 team that hasn't had a passing touchdown in 2 weeks in 25 years.
Wow.
They could run the ball. Saquon Barkley, they went into Kansas City, leaned on Saquon, ran the ball. Week 1, Jalen Hurts, his rushing ability, won them the football game. The Baltimore Ravens, they're going to be a top 5 offense again. Why? Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. The Buccaneers, what makes them so good now? Bucky Irving. They went from one of the worst rushing teams in football to Rachaad White and Bucky Irving are the reason they were able to come back versus Houston on Monday Night Football. The Colts, why are the Colts 2-0? Jonathan Taylor's been the engine driving that team. Daniel Jones rushing upside. Flip side, teams that are underperforming. Kansas City's 0-2. Their run game stinks. Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, they don't have a two-dimensional offense. The Houston Texans, people argue the offensive line's the biggest problem. Well, Todd Bowles was able to blitz every single play because the run's not going to make them pay. There's no explosivity in their backfield. Your Pittsburgh Steelers, man. No run game.
Yeah.
Jalen Warren's good, but it's more of what he does rack-wise as a running back. You look up and down the National Football League, and I think this happened for a variety of reasons. The league a couple years ago went very pass-heavy, and every team made sure to get wide receivers. All the kids that went to college that were the best athletes started playing wide receiver. So now the best athletes being running backs is kind of a rarity. So if you have a good one, it does differentiate your team. Number 2, NFL defenses now, basically every formation is too high safety because nobody wants to get killed over the top anymore. And that's why we saw the Dolphins offense that was so good 3 years ago go to sucking because that was their offense. Realistically, like the Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, like that was the plan. And now, even blitz plays, a lot of them are fire zone blitzes with too high safety still. Having a run game in today's NFL has never been more important. You control the clock. Your offense is two-dimensional. It's not predictable. And if you have a Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry level player, it's almost you're very likely to be a playoff contender if you have an elite running back in today's NFL. Not a lock, but If you can get that in your offense, you're golden.
Yeah, I mean, the defenses, man, they're playing it safe nowadays for the last couple of years. And to be honest, I think one of the major contributors to the run game being so important is the fact that these big time quarterbacks are getting injured now. Even though the rules are designed to protect the quarterback, you got Joe Burrow banged up. You got Jordan Love missed a couple of games last season. Tua's always missing games. You know, there's so many quarterbacks, and these are highly paid quarterbacks, you know, and
Yep.
now you have to lean on guys like a JaVon I now when they pay all these other running backs. But and I don't even think you mentioned the Packers. The Packers had to lean on Josh Jacobs last season as a lot last year. So it's just, I think
The
these,
Buffalo Bills with James Cook, that's why they paid him and aren't paying a receiver.
yeah, I mean, and so far it's been worth it. It's definitely been worth it. He won me a fantasy game for sure on Sunday. So, I mean, like you said, man, the teams that can't run the ball are going to be disappointing. And you see now people are starting to lean towards running back by committee now. Teams are starting to lean, okay, we don't got the big time names, but now this fifth round pick, this fourth round pick, we spent on running back. We actually need to do extensive research now because this pick is going to matter. You never know when you may have to lean on this guy. You know, that's why it's important to have a guy like Rashad White and Bucky Irving. I mean, thank God they finally figured that situation out because last season it was a mess.
You the 10 teams right now that are bottom 10 in the NFL in terms of rushing yards. The worst team, Cincinnati Bengals, they average 47 rushing yards per game. Now, to their credit, they are 2-0, but I think we know that there's some clear problems there. The Las Vegas Raiders, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Miami Dolphins, the New York Giants, the Carolina Panthers, the Cleveland Browns. Like I mentioned, the Chargers are in there, the Tennessee Titans, the New England Patriots.
Yeah, rookie running backs.
Aside from the Chargers, that sounds like the top 10 picks of the NFL draft.
Yeah, man, I don't even know how you feel about the rookie running backs, but like you got the Browns, you got the Chargers, and the Raiders. None of them have really hit the ground running, and typically that's what we see from star running backs that hit the ground running immediately. I don't know if this is early signs of this being one of the more underwhelming draft classes at the running back position, or maybe they're just starting slow.
The Raiders need to lean on Genty more. I do think that there's a little bit of issues with the Chargers' offensive line. It's so weird. I mentioned this in my reaction to Monday's game. They have a top 10 to top 5 pass blocking offensive line, but a bottom 10 run blocking offensive line. Yeah. And I don't think I've ever seen an offensive line be so good in one aspect and so terrible in another. We'll see if they can kind of get that worked out. That may just be a scheme thing. Again, I don't want to overreact to any of these things through 2 weeks, but going forward, if teams want to be successful, there has to be some emphasis on having a run game. And I sound like an old man here because I can't tell you how many times I've heard old men, unks talking about, like an elite run game is a game changer.
That's true, though.
It is.
Yeah.
And we're headed back to that portion of things. I felt like there was probably a 5-year window where so much emphasis was on the pass that now the pendulum shifted too far and the running game really has begun to matter. What was your first lesson from week 2 that you learned?
So my first lesson that I learned is that I don't know if Bo Nix is a franchise quarterback, dog. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I watched that game. I watched the first 2 weeks, and I don't know if it's just a sophomore slump or maybe lack of weapons, dare I say. But his run game has been okay. It hasn't been, world changing. His weapons aren't bad, and they still got Cortland Sutton. Troy Franklin has been coming along. They got a couple of more weapons over there. And I'm just wondering why he can't really, it seems like he's not putting it together right now. And he's had all off season, and last year kind of seemed promising. And it felt like they were going on an up trajectory. So I don't know, man.
Yeah. The first half of that Colts game looked pretty good. I think he had 3 passing touchdowns in that first half.
He did.
He had a really bad interception towards the end of the game that really shot his team in the foot, if we're being completely honest there. There is something with some of these young quarterbacks that were really promising in the second half of last year that are starting off slow. I noticed that also with Bryce Young. Bryce Young had about a good quarter and a half versus the Arizona Cardinals, but he started off really slow. Bo Nix was terrible in that Titans game, but they won anyways. He was okay versus the Colts, but then they lost. And I don't know if the film is out on Bo Nix necessarily, or if the offense has changed for Denver. It
Yeah.
does feel like they're doing things differently than they did last season, and I do think a good offense in the NFL does evolve. So I'm not sure if this is a learning curve again from some evolution, because through 2 weeks I've seen Bo Nix and Sean Payton barking at each other pretty consistently on the sideline. Cortland Sutton last week had one catch. Troy Franklin was the number one receiving threat for Denver. He had 8 for 89 and a touchdown. So I am wondering if they're kind of trying to change philosophies here. Do you think, and not in a calling you out way, just if that 60-yard field goal had not had the penalty on it and the Broncos are 2-0 today, do you think you have the same thought that you have right now?
Kinda. And honestly, I feel like I worded it wrong, but I just used Bo Nix as my main example because he hasn't lived up to the expectations. He hasn't taken the step that I thought he was going to take,
Yeah.
this season so far. But I would say my biggest lesson is let's pump the brakes on the second year quarterbacks. None of the second year quarterbacks are really going crazy right now. Jaden,
Yeah.
I mean, he has more weapons, you can argue, this year than last year. And it's not like he's lighting the world on fire either. You got Bo Nix. I mean, to me, he's been underwhelming. I mean, it's just all the sophomore
Drake
quarter.
May,
Yeah, I
Caleb
mean,
Williams. I
that's like a
mean,
whole, you could make a whole
both of
video about
but both of those
Caleb.
guys have been underwhelming. Penix, like he got that win in Minnesota, but it wasn't on the back of good play from him.
Yeah, it's kind of
And
underwhelming.
JJ McCarthy, I guess he's a sophomore QB, but it's really his rookie season. On the Bo Nix front, I think he's kind of the main poster child for this because he won at such a high rate last year. And over the second half of the season, other than Jaden, I would say he was the most impressive rookie quarterback for
Yeah.
sure. And you thought people at least were putting it out there that this is a guy who could take that step to be entering top 10 conversations. I don't think anybody thought he was going to elevate all the way to top 5, but when you get around that 10 range and it's your Jordan Loves, your Jared Goffs, your Dak Prescotts, your Brock Purdy's, like Bo Nix isn't in that conversation yet. And I think people thought that he was going to be there. And the open to this season has certainly been a tough one for Bo and the Broncos. And then this week is massive for where you're at. They play the Chargers.
Oh,
Bo Nix through 2 weeks has a 67% completion percentage, 382 total yards, which is 191 a game, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and an 82 passer rating. So, by all accounts, mid.
yeah, and that's the thing, man. All these second year quarterbacks, everybody's always expecting them. They had an amazing rookie year. They're always expecting them to take this big year two leap. And honestly, how often does that even happen? If we're being honest with you, all these, and not to mention, half of the second year quarterbacks, this is basically their rookie season playing anyway.
Yeah.
You got JJ, you got Penix, you got Drake May, who came along near the end of last season. But let's be real here. Like, I mean, maybe I'm a victim of it too. I thought Drake May, I mean, all he had to do was play okay. And I had high expectations for them. But,
Yeah.
maybe I need to pump the brakes. Maybe people need to pump the brakes on the second year quarterbacks.
I will say, not that I'm buying Bo Nix stock necessarily. If I was holding any, I don't think I'd quite sell it yet. Because I do think that there's also, while there's overreactions through 2 weeks, there is overreactions the other way of like sell, sell, sell. Like there's certain things
Yeah.
like people that are buying through 2 weeks that I'm not sure that I'm willing to buy, but I'm not willing to sell. Like me, I had the Broncos winning the AFC West. I'm not hitting cash out on that bet yet.
I mean,
Chargers are good.
I will
I'm
hope
not
so.
hitting cash out. The second lesson that I learned, the Green Bay Packers have a top 5 defense in football, and it might be top 2, not 2.
Yeah, man.
They have their defensive scheme last year was always top notch. Halfley came in and was really, really solid for them. But the Green Bay Packers, especially now with what we saw Detroit do to Chicago this week, that makes the week one domination from that Packers defense even more impressive. Through 2 weeks, the Packers are second in the NFL in sacks. They are second in the NFL in terms of rush yards allowed, allowing only 48 and a half rushing yards per game. Mind you, that's playing Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, and then a Jaden Daniels led Commanders team. They are third in the NFL in yards per game at 238, and they are allowing 15 and a half points per game. And they played Detroit and Washington, two teams that averaged over 30 points per game last year. You look at, right now it's tough to dive completely into stats because there's not a large enough sample size for context to be there. The Rams are only allowing 14 points per game, but they played the Texans and the Titans. The Falcons 14 and a half, but they just played Minnesota, who was dreadful. Like Green Bay's at 15 and a half, and they just played two teams that played each other in the divisional round of the NFC playoffs last year. One team that won 15 games and one that had the offensive rookie of the year at quarterback in Jaden Daniels, so people were ready to crown a top 5 guy. So,
Yeah.
like, not only are their stats elite, but it's coming against some of the best teams in the NFL. This week they played the Browns.
Yeah,
I
man.
don't know if how many times do the Browns get past midfield?
I mean, they got a situation going on over there, but the Packers, man, I was wrong. They are dangerous. And I don't think this
Yeah.
is just a first 2 game thing. This is definitely they're here, man. They're here.
They're definitely one of the stories that I'm buying all around. Micah Parsons has been an absolute game changing player for this defense. And I think two things could be true, right? Micah means more to the Packers than he did to the Cowboys. Micah on the Cowboys, I don't think was changing things for that team this year. I don't think they were going to be a Super Bowl threat. I don't even think that they were a threat to win their division. Micah Parsons for the Packers makes them Super Bowl contenders. And that's why that they were willing to pay the price that they did. Him, Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness in the middle. We've seen Adrian Cooper take a massive leap on this defense. That guy's a tackling machine. And the corners, Nixon, Valentine, they
Yeah.
have been playing their butts off. They still have McKinney out there. Like, this is a loaded, loaded defense that, yeah, again, my take is that it's definitively top 5, but through 2 weeks, in my eyes, it's top 2, not 2. Number 1 defense in all of football, the Green Bay Packers.
I mean, yeah, you look at Micah Parsons' impact that he had on the Dallas Cowboys, and now that he's not there, they're giving up over 40 points to the Giants.
Yeah.
When he was there, they were at least mid, and now they can't stop. They can't stop a one-dimensional Russell Wilson-led team.
Mm-hmm.
So you add that to this Packers defense, and man, this Packers defense, these are some ball hawks, man. They know how to attack the ball. Xavier McKinney was one of the top 3 best safeties in football in last year, one of the top
Yeah.
3. So I mean, you combine that, you got and Micah Parsons isn't even in his final form yet. You combine all of that together, man, and there's no reason why this team should not be Super Bowl contenders. Like,
They're,
honestly.
they're great to elite at all 3 levels on that defense. That if Jordan Love just doesn't commit turnover worthy plays in the
Yeah.
big spots against the big opponents, they have no reason to not be competing for a Super Bowl this year. Now, it's not to say that they'll win the NFC, win the NFC, or that they would beat Philly or beat the Rams, the NFL playoffs. It's any given Sunday, absolutely. But with what they have talent wise and what they're producing with their defensive identity, and like you said, the fact that they can lean on Josh Jacobs and LaFleur at head coach, Jordan Love has to go out there and I don't want to say just play conservative, but play smart.
Yeah.
And the sky is the limit for that team. Absolutely. What's the second point you wanted to bring?
My second lesson, I'm going to stay at the with the on the Broncos Colts topic, the game they just had this past weekend, and I don't know, man. I wouldn't say that the Indianapolis Colts can't win their division. I don't know. Are they legit? Is Daniel Jones I made a video on my TikTok saying it's really likely that Daniel Jones has a comeback season this year. And he's top 2 in passing right now? And his number 1 receiver is Michael Pittman Jr. I mean, when you think of number 1 receivers, he has to be one of the lower tier number 1 receivers in football right now. And Tyler Warren for that team has completely changed the dynamic of that team. You want to talk about run game, Jonathan Taylor. I mean, I don't know if he's leading the league in rushing right now, but he just had a monstrous game this past Sunday. And if he can stay healthy, I mean, who knows, man? This team could win their division. So the lesson I learned is don't count out the Indianapolis Colts. They might shock some teams this year. Everyone knows the same teams are not going to make the playoffs every year. There's going to be a team that shocks somebody. Last year, it was the Commanders. This year, the AFC is kind of open, man. I'm going to be honest. Teams are looking vulnerable we weren't expecting. And the Colts, man, they're disciplined. They know how to rally on defense. They know how to attack the ball as well, and they can run the ball. And they're not asking too much out of Daniel Jones either.
I didn't put this in my lessons, but I do think that the NFC is better than the AFC. I think that that's the case as things currently stand. Couple stats that you mentioned. Jonathan Taylor does lead the NFL in rushing, 236 rushing yards through 2 weeks. The Colts offensively are the number 2 offense in football in terms of yards per game, behind only the Buffalo Bills, who obviously put up 41 points in week 1. The Colts are averaging 445 yards per game, and the Colts are top 3 both in passing yards per game and rushing yards per game, and they are 4th in the NFL right now in points per game. And again, we're only 2 weeks in, but the top 5 offenses are the Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, the Detroit Lions, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Dallas Cowboys. So it's not exactly teams that you wouldn't expect to be up there at the end of the season for the case of Baltimore, Buffalo, and Detroit. So, it's only 2 weeks, but I think you have to take the Colts absolutely seriously. I 1,000% do. Shane Steichen, I'm obviously, as an Eagles fan, very familiar with Shane Steichen. I think he was the best offensive coordinator that Philly has had in the Jalen Hurts era. I know that they didn't win the Super Bowl the year that he was, and they won the Super Bowl the year that Kellen Moore was. I think that has more to do with the defense than the offensive coordinator. Shane Steichen, I thought it would be a massive mistake if now that the Colts ownership is changing, they moved on from him. Anthony Richardson, what an indictment this is on him as a football player.
Yeah.
Because apparently all Shane Steichen needed was a quarterback who could throw a 5-yard slant route and a 5-yard out route to the open receiver, and he'd have a top 10 offense in football. Jonathan Taylor is the engine that drives this team, and we talked about my theory on how important running backs are earlier, so I won't dive into that too much. Tyler Warren, there's so much different Tyler Warren discussion. The number one to think of is how the hell did the Bears draft Colston Loveland over Tyler Warren to not
that looking him? At it now, it's incredible. They don't even use him.
They don't use Loveland, and Tyler Warren's clearly the better player. Like, I understand what I'm about to say is ridiculous, but he's Travis Kelce mixed with Rob Gronkowski. I'm not saying he's having that career, but his archetype is that.
Dude, it's even scarier when you factor in, like in college, they had him lined up behind the quarterback. They were handing him the ball. They had him in wildcat formations. Like, I think he has a couple of carries this year, but the Colts are not even using him to his full potential. And not at all yet. Like, you can line him up at fullback. He can block. He can pass catch. He can run out the backfield. This man is, I don't want to say he's better than Brock Bowers already, because that's insane. But honestly, in my opinion, I think he's top 5 at the tight end position already. Like, I've seen enough.
I don't think that's crazy to say personally. And for what it's worth, the Colts also have a top 5 defense statistically in terms of yards per game. Yeah. So they look absolutely legit. The Jacksonville Jaguars in their division are 1-1. They're in second, and they're an absolute mess. They just lost to Jake Browning, who threw 3 interceptions against them. You have Liam Cohen on the sideline telling Trevor Lawrence to throw the ball at a receiver's chest. Trevor Lawrence, who is the number 1 overall pick, and it makes $55 million a year. The fact that a head coach has to yell that at him is crazy. The fact that his head coach would yell it at him in the middle of a game is crazier. Brian Thomas Jr. doesn't feel like catching footballs. Don't get me wrong, Trevor Lawrence throws hospital balls, so I get it.
Oh my goodness.
Level, he's not exactly lighting the world on fire with his play. It is, hey, it's the Colts division to lose right now. I'm not counting out Houston. I know Houston's 0-2. They're 0-2 to Tampa Bay and the Rams, two teams that I do think could come out of the NFC and go to a Super Bowl. And they
Yeah, you
lost
had
both of
Baker
those games
MVP
by,
this year. Remember?
yeah, and they lost both of those games by one score.
Yeah.
So even though Houston started off 0-2, I'm not out on them. I know that there's the stat of 12% of teams that start 0-2, like only 12% can make the playoffs. It's kind of skewed since they added the additional game. Of the 12 playoff teams from the previous year that started 0-2, 5 of them made the playoffs. So it's kind
Almost
of a more
50%.
50-50 shot. Last year, teams that started 0-2 that made the playoffs include the Ravens, the Rams, and the Broncos. So I'm not completely out on the Texans, but this start has certainly put the Indianapolis Colts in the driver's seat. Was there any more you wanted to add on the Colts?
I mean, I kind of want to know how you feel about Daniel Jones through 2 weeks because, I mean, I don't know. Did they change the rule of the comeback player of the year? Did they change the rule on that?
I don't think he was hurt last year,
Yeah,
so I
he
don't think
wasn't.
he could win it.
Yeah.
But this is going to go one of two ways. This is either Derek Carr and the Saints from last year, or this is Sam Darnold and the Vikings of last year. I don't know which one it is. Maybe it, like, record-wise, it'll be somewhere in the middle. But in terms of, hey, is it you played Miami and then a Broncos team that was struggling and eventually you're going to come back down to reality just like the Saints did? Or is it, hey, this is a guy who there's a reason he's floated around the NFL for a while. He can run an offense. And once you get him just in that perfect right system, he can have a Pro Bowl level season.
Yeah.
You need the perfect system. Like, is Shane Steichen at the level of Kevin O'Connell to where you get a guy in there that's just decent? You can get elite play out of him. Remember, Jalen Hurts won runner-up MVP season.
Yeah.
Shane Steichen was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I mean,
Shane Steichen pulls the best out of quarterbacks again. That's why I'm saying, like, for Anthony Richardson, he must suck.
I mean, dude. He can't complete.
Terrible.
He's not an accurate passer at any level.
Like,
high school,
he was
college.
a project, but dude, seeing what Shane Steichen has done, like, Jalen Hurts' best season ever, Shane Steichen. Daniel Jones looks like best season ever, Shane Steichen. Anthony Richardson in that middle there, man, was terrible.
I mean, honestly, this is a little bit off topic, but I just think when teams try to draft the 2.0 version of a quarterback, it never goes well. I mean, you can kind of see Caleb. You can't turn him into Patrick Mahomes. You have to let him become his own player. I have a feeling that the Colts kind of wanted Anthony Richardson to be like a hybrid Josh Allen, like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, just a more athletic Josh Allen. And it just never works, man. It never works. But I mean, Dayball did win a game with Daniel Jones in New York, and he had no weapons on the outside whatsoever. And now, I mean, his weapons are better. And as long as Jonathan Taylor can stay healthy, I know they haven't played the best teams.
That's huge because I don't think Daniel Jones can be the driving force of an offense, but I think he could be the complementary QB.
I mean, exactly. They can replicate this.
Again, don't hear what I'm not saying, but this is 49ers-esque 2 years ago, where McCaffrey, I'm not saying that Daniel Jones is on the same level as Brock Purdy. I would take Brock Purdy over Daniel Jones. But what I'm saying is the formula is we got our back, get him the ball in space, lean on him, got an excellent tight end that can block and can run any route, and we got some decent wide receivers out there. All you got to do is run the scheme. And that was the formula that, obviously San Francisco executed at the highest level. I'm not saying the Colts are going to get there, but it's a proven formula.
True.
My number 3 lesson that I want to bring to the table is one that we've talked about a little bit, but one that I think shines its evil light every single year. NFL teams should not chase/overspend to be mid. There are a lot of NFL teams that I look at right now. I look at their payroll and I look at their production, And I think, what the hell is going on here? The Miami Dolphins overpaid Tua, turned the ball over, Tua Tagovailoa. He is ass. The Cleveland Browns have Deshaun Watson on the roster still, with what was at the time the most guaranteed money ever in a contract. The Cincinnati Bengals overspent and chased T. Higgins, and what happened because they didn't have money for their offensive line? Joe Burrow hurt again, and their season, I don't want to say over, but 9-8 would be a blessing at this point.
Yeah.
And that's pretty mid. The Dallas Cowboys, mid.
Hey, that's a whole different story.
Listen, credit to Jerry Jones for not. Listen, don't get me wrong. You should have traded Micah before the draft if you were going to trade him, but you didn't triple down on being mid. And a team I want to add to this that people aren't going to like, that you aren't going to like, the Las Vegas Raiders, man. You just wanted to compete in that AFC West so bad that you traded for and extended Geno Smith. And his first AFC West primetime game against Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter. Ew. That's all I got to say about that game from Geno Smith. Ew. I mean, the Chargers defense is legit, but you're at best mid in that division. You cannot, and I get it from a business perspective. Oh, sell jerseys, get people butts in seats, make money, yada yada. From a, can we compete as an organization? Overspending and overpaying to be mid sets your franchise back years.
I don't think Geno's on that bad of a contract, though. Isn't his contract around Sam Darnold, or am I tripping? Because I know...
No. Sam Darnold was less. Now, Geno Smith's contract is only for 2 years additionally, so it's not the worst in the world, but he does have a cap hit this year of $40 million, next year 27. Then there's an out, but if they pick it up, another $40 million.
That's not bad.
Sam Darnold is like 25.
That is a deal. Honestly, they should rather have Darnold in that situation too.
But I will say this: you look at Tua, $55 million a year. Trevor Lawrence, $55 million a year. Dak Prescott, $60 million a year. Geno Smith, $40 million a year. Daniel Jones, 5.
Yeah,
Mac Jones, who just came in for San Francisco, and I get it was the Saints, but what's he making a year?
Yeah.
Sam Darnold 2 years ago? Like, just because he's in the building doesn't mean he has to be the guy.
and you know what? You're probably going to end up in the same position anyway, drafting high. So why not just sign a guy like Daniel Jones like that? You have another. You see what Genti has this season, and you draft a quarterback next year. Now you got,
the Raiders one isn't the worst because
it's not.
It's no. I know, like, Raiders fans, like, I'm not grouping. I did, but you're not in the same tier of bad as the Dolphins, the Jaguars, and the Cowboys. But I think the overzealousness to want to compete did make it to where you're kind of handcuffed over the next 2 years at least with this Geno deal.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with a team like the Patriots or the Texans or the Commanders trading for that. The Commanders, how they traded for that tackle, even though he's old.
Yeah.
Or the Texans spending extra draft capital on receivers.
When you have the guy,
and they're on the rookie deal.
Yeah.
But you knew Tua was not going to outperform this contract.
But this is why I respect what, don't get me wrong, your team's not perfect, but Pittsburgh, where they're like, not paying Darnold, not paying Geno. We'll take Aaron Rodgers for a year and try again next year when the quarterback draft is more loaded, whether it works or not. The New York Giants, for what it's worth, they got out of that because Daniel Jones is cool. He wasn't worth $40 million to them.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're not paying a guy. We'll bring Russ in and draft a guy and see what happens. The Colts, they said, whoa, we're not committed to Anthony Richardson even. We're not giving no extension talks, nothing. Like, there's teams that are willing to take it on the chin and be bad. Even the Vikings last year, they were like, nah, we're not paying you again, Kirk Cousins. Sam Darnold could do what you did. And then he was better.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, honestly, when it comes down to it, you gotta, if you're gonna pay your quarterback a certain amount of money, he has to play. He has to play at that level, man. And honestly, when you overpay quarterbacks, it sets your franchise back at least 3, 4 years. I mean, the Broncos are fortunate. They are are
Yep.
very rare situation, very rare situation to get out of that Russell Wilson contract. But you
Well,
look at the
and that's really
Browns.
because of the drafting of Bo Nix, though, because you're not paying Bo.
That's so lucky. You know how lucky that
Like
they got.
the Denver Broncos right now still have, I forget the exact number, but I believe it's north of 40 million of dead cap of Russell Wilson money right now. Like next year, the amount of money they're going to be able to spend on that roster, it because of how rich the owner is and the fact that he's going to be able to add the void years to the contracts. If Bo Nix is the guy, which I know you talked about earlier, he might
Yeah,
not be. If he turns it around this season, expect Denver to spend enormous amounts of money on whoever the best wide receiver and running back is available in
yeah.
free
I
agency
mean,
potentially. Because now you're going to all of a sudden have 40 extra $1 million.
I mean,
And Bo is still on a rookie deal.
things can get really spooky, man. And like I
Yeah.
said, you look at the Dolphins. I mean, once they somehow get rid of Tua and Tyreek, where are they gonna be? You know, at like they'll be the worst team in football. You look at the
Do
Cleveland
you think
Browns.
that there's a team that's willing to trade for Tua? I
Hell
just,
no.
when I look up and down, man, at teams that maybe need a QB, is New Orleans willing to trade for Tua? Probably
They're not
not.
that. They're going to have a top 5 pick in this year's draft, and you have to consider the fact that he can't
Are the
play in cold
Jets?
weather. He can't play in cold
Jet?
weather either.
Well, New Orleans is cool for that because they're in a stadium and they
Yeah,
play in the South. The Jets, I mean,
can't.
talk
You
about can't play in cold weather.
can't do
And
it.
you talk about an injury-prone player, bring him to MetLife. Jeez, the Browns, man.
I mean, it's too
How
cold.
how how Cleveland would it be?
Tua in the New York media, like that sounds like a
How
disaster,
Cleveland would it be to just rip Trevor Lawrence or Tua's contract from one of those teams and bail them out?
dude. And now you got Tua and Deshaun Watson on the same roster with
No.
Shador Sanders.
Right as the Deshaun Watson contract, like you stop having to pay it because you're able to like cut them and eat the money. You're
He's
like,
not that bad. Oh my
let's
goodness.
go get Tua. Deshaun Watson's gonna get cut.
No, I'm saying Tua's not that bad.
Tua's bad for the money.
Oh,
Like
honestly,
you're like I'm not saying like he would like Tua would be the best quarterback on the Browns roster, no doubt
yeah.
about it. But as soon as you get out from the Deshaun Watson money, they handcuff themselves to another
Again,
terrible quarterback contract. Like I could just easily see it.
yeah.
Unfortunately, I pray for any Browns fan in your life. What's the last lesson here you wanted to bring up from week 2?
My last lesson is do not count out. I'm doing this for another team. Do not count out the San Francisco 49ers. And I get it. They're injury prone. The Christian McCaffrey is a ticking time bomb until he gets injured. But Robert Saleh and him coming to this defense, I mean, they don't have the biggest names on paper, but they are playing hard and they're pretty good. I know they played the Saints last week, but the week before that, they played the Seahawks. The
Yeah.
Seahawks have weapons and they held them to what, 13 points, I believe. I mean, and you look at their schedule, they have one of the easiest schedules in the NFL. And dude, they could be honestly, they could mess around and be a top 2 seed in the NFC and just shock everybody.
I'm so glad you said this. I'm so glad that this is your take because I would imagine you haven't seen my tier list video that came out today yet.
No, I haven't. Not yet.
I have the 49ers as a playoff team in that tier. And I got a comment saying that that was too high, that I should put them at fringe playoffs because of their wins. And I don't argue typically in the comment section, but I vehemently disagree with that person because the San Francisco 49ers are 2-0, both on the road, both against decent defenses. Seattle's obviously is good, and then the Saints, I think, are a middle of the pack. Seattle and New Orleans, both notoriously tough places to play, tough away crowds. San Francisco had to go to the East Coast for a 1 p.m. game. For them, it was 10 a.m. Backup quarterback, no George Kittle, still no Brandon Ayuk. Jawan Jennings is dealing with an injury. A brand new defense. Defensive coordinators new. Rookie on the defensive line, and they're 2-0.
Yeah, I mean,
And
they're banged up still, and their defense is holding
I
it
don't know if
down.
they'll ever get healthy, but that's a playoff team. That is it. It's so quick to forget who the San Francisco 49ers are, and I don't think that they have a Super Bowl caliber roster like they did 2 years ago, but Nick Bosa, Mustafa, Fred Warner, Michael Williams. There's enough pieces on that defense. And Salah right now, again, 2 weeks in, they played Seattle with Sam Darnold and Spencer Rattler with the Saints. So take it with that measure.
They have, I think, the easiest schedule in the NFL.
They
keep
do.
that in mind. But
they're sixth in the NFL right now in yards allowed per game, and they've only given up an average of 17 points per game. Like, they're gonna be playing bad teams all year. They have a fourth place schedule, and it's the easiest schedule in the NFL in terms of who they play. They play both South divisions, the Jags, the Titans, the Panthers. Like, they already played New Orleans. Like, that's who they're going to be up against all year. And they're not healthy. And Mac Jones just went out there and won them a game. What's going to happen in 6 weeks when it's Purdy, Kittle, Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall back in his correct role, Jawan Jennings healthy, McCaffrey, Trent Williams, and more time for Salah to get this defense right? They're going to blow out some of those teams.
I think this is a given that they're making the playoffs now. I mean, you can tell when they play trash teams, and you can tell whether their defense is like quote unquote a fluke or not. This defense is not a fluke. Robert Saleh is a defensive minded coach. The reason why he got the head coaching position at New York was because of his mind on the defensive side of the ball. And I think he's going to transform the defense of this team. And I honestly, the moves that they made this offseason are very underrated, man. They went out, they got Mac Jones. He's made a Pro Bowl. He's been a starting quarterback. It's
the most fraudulent Pro Bowl.
I mean, it is the most fraudulent Pro Bowl, but he's capable of holding it down for a couple of weeks if Brock Purdy gets banged up.
That's true.
They went out and got Brian Robinson.
That's who Kyle Shanahan originally wanted. He didn't want Trey Lance. He wanted Mac Jones.
Yeah, that's
now
incredible.
You got him.
I mean, that would have been a lose-lose. Honestly, we don't know. But anyway.
Looks like it would have been all right now.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. But they went out and got Brian Robinson Jr. as a contingency plan for Christian McCaffrey. Jawan Jennings, I think they paid him a little more. Went and got MVS, Sky Moore, Kendrick Bourne. These are just depth players. They're always banged. Their weapons are always banged up. So now they have players who have experience in these roles. They never really had a number one receiver anyway. Brandon Ayuk was that guy, but he had the worst season of his career basically last year. So, I have a feeling that this team is gonna shock a lot of people this year. I think it's a given they make the playoffs, honestly.
I 1,000% agree. I'm interested to see if people agree with us or not on that front. I think that the Niners could win their division. Just when you factor in the schedule that the Rams play and the schedule that the Niners play, like we just talked about it, the Niners get to play the Titans and they get to play the Panthers and the Giants and all those fourth place teams, and the Rams have to play Philly, they have to play Detroit. Their schedule's also kind of easy looking at it now.
I think that division might be a little bit closer than people think. I don't know.
And we'll see what happens when those two teams obviously play each other. The toughest game, this is the 49ers schedule. Just read it. Versus Cardinals, versus Jaguars, at Rams, at Buccaneers. That's a tough stretch. Versus Falcons, at Texans, at Giants. Versus Rams, at Cardinals. Versus Panthers, at Browns. Versus Titans, at Colts. Versus Bears, or Seahawks?
I mean, non-division, the hardest game might be the
It's
Texans.
Tampa.
Oh,
Yeah.
Tampa. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Honestly,
But I mean, they're like neck and neck. But you get Titans, you get Browns, you get Giants, you get Saints, who you already played, you get Jaguars. Like,
Panthers.
yeah, like I don't think that the Cardinals are real. We'll see, but you get to face them twice. Like, I don't see how San Francisco doesn't walk their way to 10 wins.
Yeah, I mean, it would take a disaster. It would take and granted, this has happened before, but it would take a crazy amount of injuries to happen.
But we're already there. I mean, how much
Basically,
crazier does it get than your best offensive pass catcher, George Kittle, your quarterback hurt, your left tackle was banged up going into Sunday,
McCaffrey is still healthy.
your wide receiver 1 didn't even get to play yet to open up the year.
Yeah.
Your wide receiver 2 was dealing with a hamstring injury, which forced Ricky Pearsall to step up. Fred Warner, too, I want to give him a shout out. He is the best linebacker in football, and he is what makes that defense go. He is, I think, a top 10 defense player in the league.
When it comes to impact to their defense, I think he could be top 5. Like individual.
I think that's very possible.
Yeah, individual. Like of course, you got Micah transforming that defense. You got kind of Roquan / Kyle Hamilton. They both play their own roles. You got Pat Surtain.
I think Fred Warner is him.
Yeah, man.
Just that simple.
And he's been him for a while. I'm glad people are starting to recognize.
I know there's a lot of love to edge rushers, and TJ and Micah and Miles deserve all the love that they get, but Fred Warner's him.
Yeah, I mean.
And Robert Saleh knows that, and Fred Warner's going to make that defense be average at minimum all year round.
100%.
So that's the new style of video. Again, it's going to change week to week. Just bringing up topics, things that we noticed that we do want to talk about. I'm sure some of it will be the same shit that you see on mainstream TV. But I'm sure some of it will be, we did segments in this on running backs, the Colts, the 49ers, and cap management. Just things that you don't necessarily see. Let us know if you like this style of video or if you'd prefer us to kind of talk about some of the chalkier news topics. We're just willing to talk ball at any rate. So certainly let us know. We will catch you guys next week for another podcast video. Make sure you check out JaVon's TikTok, link in the description. Like he said, he's got a Colts video up there. And make sure if you love the NFL, you're subscribed to this YouTube channel. I'm bringing 6 to 7 videos a week, instant game reactions, tier lists, long form videos like this, recaps, previews, etc. You name it. We will catch you guys next time. Peace.
Yes, sir.